we will declare the June 26, 2018 regular session in order for the Hillsboro School District Board of Directors. We begin our meetings with the flag salute, so please join us. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our first order of business this evening is to approve our agenda, so I am looking for a motion.
Move to approve the agenda as printed.
Second.
It has been moved by Kim and seconded by Jackie to approve our agenda. Is there any discussion? Okay. If you would like to approve our agenda as printed, as moved by Kim and seconded by Jackie, please say aye.
Aye.
If not, please say no. The agenda is approved. Thank you. And we are now going to recess our board meeting, and then we're going to convene our budget hearing, which is all the same people, but it's something that we legally have to do. The first item of business will be to conduct the budget hearing for the 2018-19 budget. This is the final public hearing prior to board adoption of the budget document, which the Budget Committee approved on April 24th. This is a time for public testimony. The board will have an opportunity for questions and comments during the action items portion of the agenda. Any patron who wishes to speak should complete an intent to speak card form located on the back table and submit it to the board secretary. So I will declare the hearing open, and I'll ask if there's public testimony. We do have 2 public comment cards. Are you wanting to speak at the budget hearing, Tracy and Cameron? Or at the later part of audience time in the board meeting?
I guess later.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. So do we have any folks interested in speaking during the budget hearing? If so, you can move your forms to Val. Val, do you have any forms?
I have no forms.
Okay. All right, well then I will declare the hearing closed. And I will adjourn the budget hearing. And now we're going to convene the meeting of the local contract review board. I don't normally get to thank you this many times. This is something else. Okay. So, this is a public hearing of the local contract review board to allow comments on the Hillsboro School District draft findings of fact supporting specific exemptions from competitive bidding requirements for summer 2019 bond construction projects at Evergreen Middle School, Glencoe High School, Hillsboro High School, Eastwood Elementary School, Pointer Middle School, Miller Big Picture, Brown Middle School, and Newberry Elementary School. This is a time for public testimony. The board will have an opportunity for questions and comments after the public hearing is closed. Any patron who wishes to speak should complete an intent to speak form located on the back table and submit it to the board secretary. Val, do you have any cards regarding that?
I do not.
Okay, so I'll declare the hearing open. My apologies. It does not look like we have any testimony. Do you need to talk before we close the hearing, or?
Only if there's any questions to do with the purpose of the meeting, why we're going through this process.
Okay, so I think I declare the public hearing closed first, and then we continue with the local contract review board session, if there are any questions for Adam regarding that information, the findings of fact.
We've been through this process a couple of times before. I think folks understand why we're asking for the exemption from the public bidding process. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Before you get rid of me, I did want to introduce John Abel. John is with Cornerstone Management Group. Rick Renone is his boss, but he can't be here tonight. So John's here just in case I need any moral support. So. He's actually managing the project manager for Rebuild.
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you. I'm very excited about that project. Any questions for Adam or for John? I don't see
Are
anything.
you ready for a motion?
Can
we do that?
Yes, we're ready. I'm ready to hear a motion.
There we go. I move that the Board of Directors, acting in the capacity of the local contract review board, approve the findings of fact supporting a specific exemption from competitive bidding requirements for the use of the CMGC process for the following projects: Evergreen Middle School, Pointer Middle School, Glencoe High School, Miller Big Picture, Hillsboro High School, Brown Middle School, Eastwood Elementary School, and Newberry Elementary School.
Second.
It has been moved by Kim and seconded by Erica to, as the Board of Directors acting in capacity of the local contract review board, approve the findings of fact supporting the specific exemption for the CMGC. Is there any discussion about that motion? I don't see any. So it has been moved by Kim and seconded by Erica that the Board of Directors acting in the capacity of the local contract review board approve the findings of fact supporting a specific exemption from competitive bidding for the use of CMGC. If you would like to approve that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
If not, please say no. Okay, that is approved. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
And I will now adjourn the meeting of the local contract review board and reconvene the board meeting. And that's the last time I've been to gavel for a couple hours, so that's very good. Okay. Thank you for your patience. We don't normally have so many meetings within a meeting, so we are now at item number 9 on our regular session agenda, which is audience time. We do have 2 intent to speak cards. They are located at the back table. If you're interested in addressing the board, and you can turn those into Valvakma here. In the meantime, we will invite Tracy Everselic up, and then after that will be Cameron Martinez. I do have to read a little bit of a statement, so there'll be a moment of awkward silence before you get to start. I apologize. Public participation in board meetings is governed by policy BDDH. Visitors who wish to speak before the board must complete an intent to speak card available on the back table and provide it to the board secretary. Comments concerning a published agenda item are limited to its designated place on the agenda unless otherwise authorized by the board. Comments about non-agenda items will be heard during audience time at the beginning of the regular session. Speakers should state their name and, if speaking for an organization, the name of the organization. A spokesperson should be designated to represent a group with a common purpose. 3 minutes will be allowed for an individual speaker. 5 minutes will be allowed for a visitor who is speaking on behalf of the group. Speakers may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs, but in public sessions, the board will not hear comments regarding any individual district staff member. Commendations involving staff members should be sent to the superintendent. Channels for the board's review of legitimate complaints involving individuals include Board Policy KL, Public Complaints. If appropriate, the board chair will connect the visitor with an administrator to receive comments regarding personnel. Any hearing conducted before the board regarding personnel should take place in an executive session. The board thanks all visitors for their presence and appreciates the input of community members. Thank you for your patience with that. After you state your name, I'll start your 3 minutes. So that you can
Tracy Everselic. Okay. Hello, board members. My name is Tracy Everselic, and I'm a district nurse here in Hillsboro. I've been an RN for over 25 years, serving 15 years as a district nurse here in Hillsboro. In attendance tonight are several other district nurses, Kristen Ruber, Lori Fran, Cameron Martinez, and Denise Symes. We are school nurses. We're keeping children healthy and ready to learn. Despite school nurses' central role in the health of students, policymakers seem largely unfamiliar with our contributions. It has even been quoted as we're in this hidden system of health care, which we would have to agree with, knowing that a lot of our hard work is done behind the scenes. We are a very proud, accomplished team of registered nurses, with our team totaling over 100 years of nursing experience among our 6.9 FTE. I want to talk a little bit about House Bill 2693. It's a bill that was in place, it's been in place now for several years, and the nurses look at our caseload and the students, and then with the criteria, we classify them into either medically complex or medically fragile, and then that data is submitted to the state annually. And then, as I previously said, we're 6.9 RN FTE. The data shows we should have 14.28 FTE. A couple years ago it was 12, it's 14.28 now. The nurse team is not expecting to reach the ratio of 14.28, but we are respectfully asking for 1 additional FTE for our RN. We need to be heard, respected, and valued for our dedication and service that we provide to the Hillsboro School District. Myself and Lisa Sharsh, who couldn't be here, she's on vacation with her family, did share an email listing our concerns back in May with administration, and we did email 2 board members, Martin and Lisa. Thank you, Martin, for responding. I want to first share how our nursing model works in the school setting. Here in Hillsboro, there are not licensed nurses in the building and in the health room, like the community, things, and even staff in that building. We'll send the student down to be seen by the nurse. It is not a licensed nurse. It's a UAP, an unlicensed assistive personnel. And they've been trained by the RN, multiple trainings in medication, glucagon, epinephrine, first aid, seizure, first aid, and then we have that daily supervision over them, have them working under our license. We do a lot of triaging every day as RNs, so we're continually being called from staff to the buildings, instructing them how to medically, manage situations in a crisis, which is under our license as well. The nursing team takes a lot of pride in our role as a district nurse, and a heavy responsibility as a public employee. We take that very seriously. When our RN license is compromised due to unsafe staffing ratios, we feel like we need to take further action to ensure that our students' health and medical needs are met. So the diagnoses, it could be asthma, anxiety, epilepsy, diabetes, anaphylaxis, ADHD. That's just a small sampling of the medical conditions our students have that would require RN services. To connect with that parent or guardian, with the medical provider, obtain orders if they need them for a school, write a safe plan, train staff, and many of those students would need daily ongoing care from the RN, especially our diabetics. I start out my day as a lead nurse with a ping from my phone, usually 5:30 in the morning. If there's an absence from a district nurse, all of our classroom nurses and staff to make sure that I set in an action and a plan of where the coverage is going to be, where I'm going to move staff so that I can meet the needs of those students that need to have nursing there. Our team has very limited resources, so we're always thinking outside the box. In fact, I have that quote in my office, think outside the box. So we have to be very effective and efficient. It takes knowing the medical student population, their needs, that nursing skill staff their skill set, so that I can best match that for where and which program I need them to be at to serve. It's time intensive, but it's something that a nurse needs to be doing.
Lucy, I'm sorry, we're over time by a minute and a half, so you need to wrap it up a little bit.
Okay. Just very quickly, I was collaborating, one of my lead roles is collaborating with admin on issues that pertain directly to our practice and licensure that impact the care that we give our students, such as the DNR policy. That was a big one this year, that's do not resuscitate. We have 2 students in the district that do have a DNR. And just a reminder, multiple hours are clocked outside the workday by our entire team to make sure that our students are safely being cared for. Every year the team looks at the whole picture. We're very conservative in our proposal. Each year I do submit a proposal to my administrator. It's been 10 years since we had any additional staffing. So 10 years ago is when we got an additional RN. So we're looking ahead at the programs being added, the increased medical needs of our students, and all the programs in our buildings, and asking you to consider one additional RN.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman Martinez? I'll start your time as well after you state your name.
Thank you. Hi, thank you. My name is Cameron Martinez. I'm one of the district nurses here. This will be my 5th year doing district nursing, my 4th year at Hillsboro. And as Tracy mentioned, we have 6.9 FTE. Some other districts, have better ratios. Some have worse. But we want to focus on the safety of our students. And with our full-time nurses that we do have, they each have 6 schools each, which can equate to about 3,200 students. Some other districts around us, for example, Beaverton has 13.75 FTE, and granted their population of students is twice ours, but this translates to 4 schools per full-time nurse, so a couple schools less. North Clackamas School District also has about 3 to 4 schools per full-time nurse, and they utilize their ESD for all the care and their medically fragile students. Nurses holistically care for our students and families. With the increased health needs of our community, the nurse works hard to collaborate with the family, medical team, and staff in the schools to make sure a safe plan is in place for students to try and achieve success in their education. With our growing district and district nursing FTE staying the same, the nurse is less able to safely meet these needs. We've seen a large increase in mental health diagnosis and support. We help facilitate with those referrals. Increased severe allergies with kiddos. There's a statistic on the FAIR website that 1 in 13 kids have some type of allergy that requires us, for planning and preventing reactions. Increased medications during school hours and their side effects. Students are constantly, some students are constantly changing what their medication is, and that can vary, how that affects that as students. So we're facilitating that within the health room. Increased number of students being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. We currently have 71 students total in the district that have type 1 diabetes. And that entails a lot of training in the younger elementary. It's a lot of delegating with trying to do their daily care from the health room. And that's usually done with a lay person because we don't have a nurse in the health room. And families are just very challenged and needing resources, support, appropriate referrals, and so we facilitate a lot of that for them. The district also is continually adding and expanding vital programs to impact student health. The team has felt a big impact on our caseloads over the past 5 years with the growing district. Programs that have impacted our nursing practice, causing us to be concerned there are not enough of us to not safely care for our students and trained staff. So again, I want to emphasize that safety is our top concern. One of our great additions we love, but we had a little compromising situation was the wellness center. An example was it was important just for us to partner with that, and we weren't aware of them actually being put into the school. And a student with a known food allergy had an anaphylactic reaction while visiting the wellness center. The student required an EpiPen, and this could have been avoided with pre-planning so that nursing had a chance to collaborate with the wellness center staff, make sure that everyone's properly trained, just to ensure that students were safe within the building. The wellness centers have been a great addition, but not without adding additional work for the nurses. We created a safe snack list for the centers, trained staff on how to access medical conditions, and trained anaphylaxis, diabetes, and etc. other health conditions the kiddos have. Addition of preschools has been huge within our schools because all of those kids have health needs as well, so that has added. The expansion of CTE, field trips and after-school programs, because all of those lovely medications get to go with them, and staff have to be trained in order to administer those as well. The House bill requirements for the state that Tracy went over. We supervise over the vision hearing and dental Senate bill, all that gets submitted to the state. And then there's a new ODE requirement for medication training staff. It used to be staff could just have it one time and be done. Now we'll be facilitating this every 3 years like our other trainings. So it's thousands of staff in the district that will, have to have that manpower to train them. HOA has expanded. Miller, the Big Picture program, and then the 2 new schools that will be built, we're not sure, 2020, 2019. And also with the safety piece, since we're having larger caseloads, we're missing opportunities to be able to attend all of our students' IEP meetings, 504 meetings, which a lot of it requires us nursing to be there. Parents and family health education on their children's health condition.
Cameron, I'm sorry, we're 2 minutes over time now, so I need to-
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know the superintendent Scott shared with me some information after we received your email, and he's going to share some of that now.
First of all, thank you for coming this evening, and I hope that, because you used the word, it's heard, respected, and valued. I hope that you don't feel that that's not the case because of the lack of staffing that's been available. Totally understand your desire and value your desire to have additional staffing. And you mentioned that it's been 10 years since we've been able to increase the RN. I know there has been increases in the LPN staffing that's taken place during that time. That 10 years, over that same 10 years, if you were to have rolled up the amount of budget that we had in the school district 10 years ago and just rolled up the things we were doing at that time or the money that we had at that time, we would have an additional $70 million in our system right now. But the truth of the matter is that over the last 10 years, we've been on this downward trajectory towards staffing, towards the amount of money coming into the district. So during that time, we've been forced to make some difficult decisions and how those dollars are spent. I think you would hear the same concerns regarding class size. That's definitely been an issue for us. With all of that said, definitely share your desire to increase the staffing, and to that end, I know that this coming year we're going to be increase in an LPN, medically fragile classrooms, and we're hopeful that that will allow you to not have to do so much coverage during times where there's a person that's out. Also going to be an increase in there's going to be support hours available for some classified hours available to the nursing staff for your support. Some secretarial time there as well. Increase in some classified health room time, which these are all steps in the right direction. It's not an increase, and the RN totally understand that. But it is something that we're able to do at this time. Our goal is, as we make some changes to the Medicaid staffing, to the Medicaid billing, that the money that we're able to gather by doing that can be used to hire additional RNs. And we think that we're going to be able to generate significant funding with that, but we do need to wait until that money comes in. So have also asked Wendy to look at some of the things that you do that we can take off your plate. I don't know how many of those things are just self-inflicted by a desire to do good, as opposed to those things that are essential duties, but I think we need to help you clear your plate by removing some of those things as well. Very long-winded way of saying we would love to add more staffing. That is the goal, especially with our Medicaid billing, and we hope that occurs in the very near future. Your concerns over the last 10 years mirror exactly the downward trajectory in that timeline as well, that for funding that's occurred for the school district. So we just want to say you are heard, respected, and valued. It's a very real outcome of our budgeting situation, of our funding situation. I don't know if there's, Travis, you want to?
Thank you. Thanks for the work you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. We will we'll move on now to item 10, reports and discussion on our agenda, and we're starting with announcing budget committee vacancies with Michelle.
Yes, thank you. On your board packet, there's a situation page that gives more detail around the budget committee vacancies. For those that aren't familiar, the budget committee members, there's 7 to match what we have on the school board. So a total of 14 members on our budget committee. The 7 community members are appointed by the board. 2 of those positions, position 3 and 4, have their expired as of June 30th. Applications from interested persons must be received by September 4th in order to be considered for appointment on the budget committee. The appointment is supposed to happen at the October board meeting. So watch for that opportunity and please apply and encourage people to apply.
We don't have to actually vote on announcing those. It happens organically now that you let us know, right? Okay, excellent. Any questions for Michelle? I don't see any. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, announcing Citizens Curriculum Advisory Committee vacancies with Travis.
Thank you. Similarly, the board identifies each June the openings that will come up next year for the CCAC. There are 14 members and now 4-ish student members on the committee. Tonight, I'm reporting that 7 of the active CCAC members will have continuing terms next year. And of the 7 whose terms are expiring, 4 members have committed to returning next time or reapplying next time to serve again. And just as a reminder, this got complicated last year, but the board appointed all 5 students who had applied. 3 of those 5 students became participating members of the committee, and 2 of those 3 have graduated. So, of those 2 who graduated, 1 intends to reapply to be a member of the official crew of 14, and 1 hasn't indicated whether or not she'll come back. And another student will be a junior next year, I believe, and he intends to return as well. So the long and the short of it is, we recommend from the chair and vice chair that a combination of 7 new and reinstated committee members and 3 new student members be appointed next fall. So applications will be due on September 4th, and then during the board meeting in September, the board will appoint those folks who you see fit to serve in those open roles. So if there's any questions about how that works or the mathematics involved in that statement I just made, please ask.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know if my light was working. So we get the applications on September 4th and we vote that at the next board meeting. Whereas with budget, we get them in the same date, September 4th, but we vote in October. And I know it's because we want them appointed in time to participate in the October 1st, the first meeting.
That's right.
Is that the time to review the applicants?
Would it be
I think what's,
enough notice if we did it the second meeting in September, or would you?
that would be fine if you prefer to do that. I don't know, Val, if there was a reason that we couldn't do that, but in my recollection, we look at the paper screeners. Everybody comes to the work session who has applied. They stand up and say their piece for a minute or two. And then out of that, we do some sort of a voting process if we need to.
So we have so it would be 1 week. 1 week we would have, if their applications are due on the 4th, we have a work session on the 11th, and then the 25th we have a regular board meeting. So it'd be the 25th meeting?
Oh, that we
They're
actually,
thinking it would be the 11th, but the question
Oh,
is, will that
okay.
be enough time, is what your question.
That's my question, right, is if we do it, I mean, that's 7 days after the applications are due.
It depends on how many there will be, and, you know, we've had quite a few in the past meetings, so I have
Yeah.
questions around.
That's my only concern, is that's a really short, it's a short time frame compared to the budget committee one.
Travis, are you of the opinion that it's too short of a window of notification if we were to push it to September 25th?
no.
No?
Let me confer with my colleague Val
Okay.
and figure out if, it sounds like what the request might be is the 11th, we talk about the candidates and maybe let them introduce themselves. We appoint on the 24th, and then they attend the first meeting on October 1st.
I would prefer that. I don't know. I mean, any more time you can give us would be appreciated.
Yeah.
So basically, it sounds like the only real change is that they would introduce themselves on the 11th instead of you guys just looking at those applications and not actually meeting them until the 25th. And theoretically, once we've connected with the elections office and confirmed that they're eligible, could we go ahead and post their applications with a board update shortly after it closes? So would that work if we do a board update shortly after it closes, as soon as we've confirmed eligibility, then have them introduce themselves during the work session on the 11th, and then you guys do the appointment on the 25th?
I think to me, that's more feasible.
More time.
Sound
More
good,
time.
Travis?
Yeah, sounds great.
I'm not hearing any loud objections, so I think we're okay with that. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Travis. Before we move on to 10C, I normally, after public comment time, invite our folks who've come to speak to leave if they are so inclined, because not a lot of people want to sit and enjoy the board meeting. So I forgot to do that, and I apologize. Thank you so much to the school nurses who came to represent their interests and the interests of our students this evening. Okay, so 10C, curriculum adoption cycle with Travis again.
This part's really compelling, so.
Don't take it personally.
Required by Division 22 is that if we're out of cycle with the 7-year cycle with the state of, or the Department of Education cycle for curriculum adoption for each content area, we need to notify the state and ask for approval of a postponement of selected materials in whatever category we have not followed the state cycle. So tonight I just want to notify the board and the community that in the following categories we are off cycle, and we'll be submitting a document that lets ODE know that that's the case in Hillsboro. So in world languages, health and PE, social science, art, and language arts, we are technically off cycle, although as some of you know, we're starting the process with language arts in the earliest phases of a curriculum adoption. K-12 language arts, which is kind of the biggest one we do, so we'll be on track with that soon. Kim had asked if I could state publicly what the last date of adoption was in each of those categories, so I'm happy to do so. In order in the recommendation section of page 22, if you follow along, the first one is world languages. It was 1998 when we did a formal adoption for high school world languages. For health and PE, 2006. For social science, 2007, for art, 2000, for language arts, 2008. So I'm happy to provide more information about, what we do in each content area, but the fact is that we teach to grade level standards in every area, and we revise our curriculum consistently, annually, in order to stay up to speed with Common Core and next-gen science standards. And we submit that information to ODE when we ask for a postponement of our curriculum adoption. We also continue to work with ODE for independent adoption. The last case of that was when we did math. We were not technically in cycle with math, but we worked with ODE's math gurus to make the best adoption possible to get out in front of math. So happy to answer any questions about that. It's a document that I'll be submitting soon.
Thank you, Travis. Martin?
Travis, I remember our first board meeting at the beginning of the school year was to pass this, and I thought, oh my goodness, my first vote as a board member was to not do something that looks so overdue. And I kind of am flashing back to that, what did you say, 1998? It's like, oh, it's kind of devastating here. Can you give us any assurance that we're not just kicking the can down the street, that we're in a good place on these things, or is this really a bad news story that we just kind of kick the can down the street?
It's a tough question to answer because I value new curriculum materials, new technology, and our teachers do and our students do, and I think we should have the freshest technology gear and the best access to curriculum, whether it's a paper textbook or online license. At the same time, I feel like our teachers and our leaders have developed a system where we, in some cases, develop our own curriculum maps and hyperlink out to open educational resources. A good example of that is how we stay current with our health education standards. We are not buying health textbooks. We're linking to other counties and districts who've developed those materials, and we use those. So I can go to sleep at night believing that we have grade level standards being taught in classes with excellent materials that mostly our teachers have put together in instances where we haven't adopted recently. So it's hard for me to say we don't need to go and refresh our curriculum consistently. It does pain me to see that for world languages in particular, it's been many, many years since we've adopted new curriculum for them. But I also know that our world languages teachers work in PLCs together and develop resources and buy licenses to online tools that they need to teach their curriculum. So
I guess my final comment would be, we have a curriculum advisory committee, and this kind of lends itself to a deeper look.
mm-hmm.
It'd be nice if maybe if you could engage with them and get them to give us, as a board, what their assessment of this is, so we don't kind of just give a lip service when the state nudges us, but it's got somebody really doing a deeper dive and advising us as a board that, yeah, this is appropriate to do. Not that you're not doing that already, but to the extent that we want community eyes on it, I would, since we have a curriculum advisory committee, seems like this would be perfect fit with their level.
I appreciate that. I'd also be interested in bringing staff into the conversation. If you all wanted to learn more about what we teach and with what tools, they do it every day. So I'd be happy to provide more information on a specific content area or just in general how we do that. I really believe in our leadership structure in terms of teaching and learning, and so I'd be happy to talk about that more at a work session.
That's a great idea. Thanks, Travis. Thanks, Martin.
Thank you for looking up the information for me. Thank you to staff who make it work without books. And not only is it sad that we can't figure out a way to fund these, but that we tend to prioritize the two categories that people like to provide national standardized tests for. Yet our students can't get into our state universities without a world language. And these are books that would have been new when Lisa was in high school.
That's true. Thanks for that. I mean, that's shocking, right? 20 years, we're talking about 2 generations of students who've come and left us. And our number one priority is bilingual, bicultural students, and we don't have world language books. Have anybody who's, got a photograph that looks like something they can recognize, right? And so, challenge to all of us is to continue to work on revenue reform, because social studies, art, and world languages are as important as language arts and math to be a successful human being in this country.
And in response to that, I want you to know as a board that in our submission of the request to postpone, I have stated that we're aware that with declining revenue and increasing instructional mandates, we find it impossible to stay on cycle without making cuts to staffing or other programs that we also value. So I think we've been very clear with our partners at ODE that that's our situation. So.
And I, again, totally appreciate that it means a lot of extra work on staff members' end because they don't have tools and resources to make their jobs easier.
Yep.
But then we also then have students who don't know how to interact with those materials because they just don't exist in a meaningful way.
Travis, the cost of our last completed option, 1.2?
Yeah, we estimate that for a K-12 adoption in any content area, social studies, language arts would be $1.2 million. We've traditionally banked $400,000 per year. We try to roll that into 1.2 over the course of 3 years and then pull the trigger on a wholesale adoption. It gets a little more complicated when you have to add technology and digital licenses to the mix. So those things aren't free yet. There is a future where I think we put our resources together and develop open educational resources in public education. And there have been some consortium people who work together who try to do that, and it hasn't worked yet. So the publishers still really have the market controlled in terms of how we purchase material. It's gone from paper to digital, but it doesn't necessarily cost less yet.
Right. Thank you. Thanks, Travis.
All right, we will move to item D, communications department update.
Thank you. I am going to emerge from behind the camera where I usually sit and address you from up here. But to kick things off, I would like to start with a little video that my team and I put together. So please enjoy.
Okay, team, so the board has asked for department reports from each of our departments, and communications turn is this coming Tuesday. So I'd like for us all to brainstorm some things that we could talk about. And I've asked Omar to film our meeting today so that we could have a record of these conversations that I can refer to as I prepare for that.
We can talk about transfers. Well, that's a good idea, since that's what we do for 80% of our job. Throughout the years that I've been here, I've done a lot of administrative type work. A lot of what we do now is student transfer processing. Yeah, it keeps us busy, to say the least. Shouldn't our job title be something like VP of Student Transfers or something? Good idea. We can talk about the bonds. I mean, we're breaking ground and breaking down walls, literally and figuratively. So in May, I started transitioning to doing communications for the bond. And because we hired Omar as my replacement, I gave him my desk and I moved into the storage closet. ¿Y qué tal las traducciones? Sí, sí. Soy la intérprete y traductora del Departamento de Comunicaciones. Esto significa que todo lo que llega a nuestro departamento también sale en español. Básicamente, soy como un filtro bilingüe.
Well, that can't be all we do. I mean, we put out hot news, we do our biannual look inside, feature stories. What else do we do?
We can talk about posting updates to the district website, Facebook, and Twitter. As webmaster, I pretty much manage the district website. But the cool part about my job is the title itself, webmaster.
Come on, everyone. Can't we just come up with one thing? I mean, what is it that we do as a team? It's hard, managing so many people. But we're a team, and we need to speak with one voice. I would say there's no I in team, but that's cliche. And there are other words without an I that mean team, like group or squad or accessory. Like as an accessory to a crime.
I don't know if I'm new, but I think communicating visually is a really important task that we take on as a team. I started in early May just before the Proud to Be HSD Festival. It's been really busy in the office ever since I started, so I had to learn a lot on my own. I hope they let me work on more videos soon. Did I mention I used to work at Disneyland?
Okay, you know what, I think we've got what we need, it's pretty clear what we do at this point, so Omar, can you work with what you've got, make it look pretty, maybe add some visual effects or something?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Hey, where's Brooke? Didn't she say she was coming to this meeting?
Haven't seen it.
Oh, jeez. Filter. Yes, boss, it works. All right.
And that was put together by Omar, our new multimedia specialist. So if you can't expect something fun and interesting and different from the communications department, then where can you expect it from? So thank you for indulging that. We thought it would be just fun and a little different to start off with a video. Plus it does kind of allow you to see a little bit about what each of us does. We do handle a wide variety of things in the communications department, but really if you're going to distill it down, it's communications, quite obviously, but it's both proactive and reactive communications. Obviously, we would like to spend the majority of our time in the proactive realm, and actually that is where we spend the majority of our time. However, ironically, I think you'll see a lot of times is that what we're known for is some of the reactive stuff that we get involved in. You know, I can't tell you how often I meet people or run into people, and the first thing they say to me is, oh yeah, I see you on the news. And even in a year like this past year where I wasn't on the news that much, that's still the thing that people say. So let's go back to the proactive and talk a little bit about what we do to reach out to our various stakeholder groups. So when we talk about stakeholders, you know, a lot of the times we're talking about parents and community members, local businesses, higher education, things like that. Sometimes it can be easy for us to lose sight of the fact that two of our major stakeholder groups are our staff and our students. It's very important that we keep our staff and our students informed about what we're doing. And especially with our student group, that can be very difficult for us at the district level to kind of penetrate down to the student ranks. But we keep trying new and different things. And we're going to keep trying working on that because it is, I think, important for students not only to know what's going on in their little microcosm of the district, their school, or their feeder even, but you know, to understand how the district operates as a whole. And we do have certain students that kind of get that and get that kind of exposure through the Citizens Curriculum Advisory Committee or through the student reps to the board. I think that's going to be great. And the more that kind of thing keeps happening, the easier it'll be for other students to plug in and access that. So we've built ourselves a variety of communication channels and methods to try to reach these various stakeholder groups. And we do that purposefully because we know that no single method or channel is going to be effective for everyone. So we have kind of multiple layers of communication that we do on an ongoing basis. So obviously we have weekly things like hot news that goes out not only in English and Spanish, but also a special version to staff every week. And then we have more old-fashioned things like our biannual Look Inside newsletter that we actually print on newsprint and mail out to all households in the district's attendance area. And that's just kind of a nice way for us to get information about the school district in the hands of the 70+% of our community that doesn't currently have kids in school. So we figured things like that, things like the Proud to be HSD Festival, or when we're showing up at other community events where there will be community members who don't otherwise have a child or a grandchild in the system yet, it kind of gets us out in front and allows them to see maybe what's new and different since they were in school, or to get inspired about the things that our students are learning and doing in our schools today, maybe even encourage them to become a volunteer for us. So, you know, we kind of cover that broad spectrum. You know, over the years, we've done more and more to try to keep current with the times by getting social media accounts. We do have a very active Facebook and Twitter presence. We have not yet broken into the Instagram world, but we may well do that this coming year as a specific way to target our student population, because that really is a platform that we have more young people engaging in. Also video work, and we've put together and put out a number of videos. It's just a matter of how to actually get people to access them. And so we're gonna explore some new strategies for how we can get better and more nimble at that. I think our challenge is how do we maintain that level of professionalism and kind of body of record that we need to have as a public institution, as an institution that manages public money. How do we kind of have all the information at all times that would be more like a website presence, versus how do you stay kind of sleek and nimble and flexible to the needs of your consumers. So we're always trying to strike that balance and trying new and different things to try to get there. Some of the new things that we've done this year, as you've seen, we've had a brand new website that launched July 1st of last year. And hopefully you agree that it's a major upgrade over what we had before. It's a mobile-friendly platform, which is great. It's also integrated, so whereas before we had the district site over here, then we had school websites here, we had yet another instance for Hillsboro Online. Everything is under one umbrella now, which makes that consistent and common communication much easier, and also from a look and feel standpoint, you see a lot more consistency across the sites, which is great. Obviously still have refinements that we can do, and there's always opportunities for making sure that people are trained on different aspects of how to utilize the site, and we will do that as needed. So, some of our top accomplishments, I think, this year, we played a major part in the bond ask last November. And in fact, I think since Mike hired me, that's been his #1 goal for me, pass a bond. And now he's probably just gonna say, well, pass the next one. So that's fine, we're happy to work on that. And of course, the rollout of the new website. We also have stood up a separate website for the bond. Now that it's in its kind of ongoing status, we have a separate instance as if it were a school website, but it's its own website with its own look and feel that's being managed wonderfully by Jane, and that is great. Our Proud to Be HSD trailer, which is another really visible kind of community-based way to get the word out there about Hillsboro School District. We have secured $12,000 in grants just in this calendar year for the trailer, and I'm currently working really closely with Intel we finally were able to finalize an order list to really put the kinds of things in it that will make it have the capability of being like a maker trailer, and not only being a demonstration space for different STEM STEAM activities, but also having full carts inside that can roll into a school and a classroom, and then Intel volunteers can do a STEM or STEAM related activity with a classroom of students. So that's pretty exciting. And we've been shepherding the strategic plan as well, and the notion of name, strength, and need, and connecting to culture, community, and career. And we will continue to do that. So trying to really mind my time. So I don't know if there are any questions that you have, or if there's additional information that you would like to hear from us in the future.
Here. Can we put the video on our board drive, please?
On the board drive, yes. For our viewers at home, you won't hear the soundtrack that goes along with that because of copyright, but as long as we keep it private, we should be okay.
Great.
I appreciate the funding, that's always really nice, and I think that's something that I understand the mentality behind. We are a public organization, and the message that we carry out to our constituents and community might be different, but internally, I think it makes it really nice to have that kind of character or spirit in the district with our staff or students, and I think that that's something that I appreciate. Thank you for that. And then the other thing was, how do you foresee kind of working in connecting all of every school seems to have a particular culture, and style of how they do things and how they communicate. And then also, as a district, like how do we mesh that? Or how do you foresee like having that so that as a district, we have kind of our culture and our character that we can put out in our community?
Well, I definitely agree with you. Different schools have either kind of developed their own culture over time, or it could change with the leadership or things like that. I just really encourage each of our buildings to have a plan for how they're going to communicate. And that should be some sort of very regular thing that they engage in, whether they like to put out an actual newsletter format, whether that's purely an email, kind of whatever their structures are, I want them to have a plan because communicating is so critically important. And in terms of ensuring that consistency, that's one of the things I hope to do kind of through the hot news is kind of weave together some of those things. But then also I put out a monthly principal quick sheet that kind of goes through kind of what are the hot things coming at you this month. And sometimes I'll even pre-write little articles for them that they can just kind of cut and paste into their newsletters or their email blasts, whatever they do, and that can help us generate that consistency as well. And then I try to utilize times where we have kind of group trainings or admin PD days to go into some of that with them as well.
My comment is just, I love it, it's amazing. One of my mottos in life is that you should, take your job seriously, but never take yourself too seriously. And that was just the most amazing amount of levity. And I think it is now the permanent update to be.
No pressure, people.
No pressure, but you win if there was a prize. So.
Oh, thank you very much. It's good to be first.
We could have a board at the next summer retreat.
Oh, it's great.
Look at all these guys rolling their eyes.
Sorry,
I
guys.
know after the policy review video.
Okay, moving right along. Item E with Michelle, the financial report. We have it here. Is there anything that you want to highlight? Or are you just looking for any questions?
You have a video?
Do you have a video?
I don't sing, I'm sorry, any such stuff. No, nothing other than, we just continue to work with the operations across the district as far as supporting principals as instructional leaders. I also bring us back to that a little bit because that's a good illustration of just collaborating to make things run smoother and impact our buildings in a positive way. Student incidents, again, you'll see that we're reporting on the average incidents per day, and we're in line, so that's good. Our cash flow report, I don't know how much of you guys are reading this closely, but you will see that the revenue for our fiscal year has been pretty much received at this time. We don't receive a state school fund payment in June, so that's why it looks like the revenues are far ahead of the expenditures. We do 3 payrolls in June, so that catches that all up. So I'm looking forward to a final report after the close of the year. But I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Michelle. Any questions for Michelle? I don't see any, thank you. Okay, policies, item F. The first one is with Adam and Casey, policy DM, disposal of district property. Are you guys just looking for questions, or do you want to give us some highlights?
I would just say that the only addition here is the statement that we always have to keep in mind when we're disposing of property that anytime we purchase anything with federal or grant funds, we have to be aware of that, and there are special rules that apply, whether it's a title grant or some other kind of a grant. So this language just makes that clear and explicit in the policy.
Okay, EEACA, school bus driver examination and training. Casey, do you want?
Yeah, no, it's just recommended by OSBA to keep up with legislative changes to OAR on how we do bus driver training.
Any questions for Casey? Don't see any, thank you. And then Connor, you've got 3. Do you want to give us highlights or?
I just think, these reflect the legislative changes and any OARs and then ESSA and then Senate Bill 205. We had to kind of combine all of those pieces that relate to personnel licensure, assignments, transfers, and resignation processes. And I haven't received any questions from anyone in regards to that.
Any questions for Connie now? Thank you. Okay, and then the last one with KCEGC, vehicle idling.
Yeah, this is a new policy for us, as we have discussed over the spring and had a patron at one of our last board meetings talk about. But this is to implement a policy about vehicle idling and how we can reduce that as a district with district vehicles and also encourage our community. The policy is very brief in nature, but the real reduction guidance is on the AR and talks about some goals that we have and also takes into consideration we have to have buses warm, and when it's cold outside, there may need to be buses running to keep kids warm so they're not cold and wet, etc. But also to try to use this as guidelines for our staff and to make sure they're keeping that awareness out there as they're out working in our buildings, in our community, etc.
Thank you, Casey. Kim and then Jackie.
I've been in other districts where they've done this policy, and they actually have post signage, like at the parent, do we have funds to be able to do that? Is that part of
That'll
your
be part
rollout
of,
plan?
yeah, that'll be part of this, is to draft the signage so that it's really community oriented and add that to our sign list.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Jackie and Mark.
Did we get this policy from somewhere, or did we make it up? And on the AR guidelines, where did those come from?
We looked at a few different examples. We looked at some surrounding districts that already have this implemented. We looked at city and county partner agencies that have similar policies, so that we use that to come up with what we have.
Okay, well done.
Mark?
I'm guessing this is another one of the cases where we have a policy in excess of what the OSBA recommends, right? So we just talked about, we have way more than most districts, and we just added another one.
Last one, right?
But so again, just to bring up what we did upstairs, let's be sure that we're not throwing out everything. I think this reflects the character of the kind of district we want to be. So again, just a reminder that just because we have extra doesn't mean it's bad.
And my comment will be, I'm very excited about this. I'm waiting for it to come, and I think it's going to be great. If you ever pick up a kid from an elementary school where there are a ton of cars all in front of you, exhausting, and you have your kids in the car and your windows down, it is not a pleasant breathing environment for the kids to wait in and next to all the buses and stuff. And so I like that we're doing this, and I also love the flexibility that we're giving to staff to make sure that they're keeping the kids comfortable and safe as needed. So I'm really excited about this.
Okay.
Okay, so these policies will be up again for us in September in our consent agenda. So that's the next time we will see them. Let's move along to our consent agenda for this evening. You can find that beginning on page 42 in your packet. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed.
I move to approve the consent agenda as printed.
Second.
It's been moved by Erica and seconded by Kim to approve the consent agenda as printed. Are there any discussion or questions? Is there any discussion or are there questions? Jackie?
And I had already talked to Michelle about this. I just wanted to make sure that we get it. For policy DFAA, Investment Policy Capital Project Fund, it states in the reporting requirements that the board will be provided quarterly reports. So once that, the capital, he's like, yeah. So anyway, so hopefully we'll be getting quarterly reports. That was it.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so it has been moved by Erica and seconded by Kim to approve the consent agenda as printed. If you would like to approve the consent consent agenda as printed, please say aye.
Aye.
If not, please say no. Okay, that means the consent agenda is approved. Does anyone know the page on which?
119.
Thank you.
119,
It's far.
Yeah,
Which one?
119.
119.
give us just a moment to catch up here. Getting closer. Usually I write it down for myself, but not today. Okay. So we are at action items 12A. We are about a little while ahead of schedule. I had written down perhaps to take a break, but we might not need one at this point. Do folks feel okay about powering through?
Yes.
Yes, okay, let's power through. Okay, Michelle, action item A, adopt resolutions to the 2018-19 budget.
Yes, for your board packet, we have a situation page discussing the 3 actions needed to adopt our budget. One is to establish the adopted budget, which has been online and available for review since it was approved on April 24th. The second action item authorizes the expenditure of funds starting in July by making those high-level appropriations. And then the third one categorizes the levy and authorizes the tax for our collections. So these are the standard resolutions that we have every year. It's not different than before. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do we need to read the resolution, or do I need to read it after we?
This recommendation on 119.
So I see the motion, but then there's on 120, there's a be it resolved. Do I have to read that?
On I gave you a little printout for signature, and on the first page, it has a motion that kind of covers everything.
Okay, so we don't need to read the separate be it resolved. Okay, excellent. All right, well then I'm looking for a motion, which you can find on the bottom of page 119.
I move that the Board of Directors adopt the resolutions to adopt the 2018-19 budget, appropriate the 2018-19 budget, and impose 2018-19 taxes and categorize the levy as shown in the June 26, 2018 board meeting packet.
Second.
It has been moved by Jackie and seconded by Kim that we adopt the 2018-19 budget, appropriate the 2018-19 budget, and impose the 2018-19 taxes and categorize the levy as shown in the packet. Are there any questions, or is there any discussion about that motion? Martin.
I'd like to give a shout out to Elizabeth on our budget committee who has soldiered through to this point to see this come to fruition. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Excellent. I agree. Any other questions or comments? Okay, it has been moved by Jackie and seconded by Kim that the Board of Directors adopt the resolutions to adopt the 2018-19 budget, appropriate the 2018-19 budget, and impose the 2018-19 taxes and categorize the levy as shown in this board meeting packet. If you would like to do that, please say aye.
Aye.
If not, please say no. Okay. The motion carries. Thank you. Okay, 12B, approve compensation for non-union employees. We discussed this a little bit up here upstairs.
Yes, so we discussed this during the work session upstairs to approve compensation for union employees. And what we've done historically, also just want to add this component in there, is that we have used need to language for our non-union employees, that whatever we determine through our license bargaining and staff that we sign off on, that administrative, supervisory, technical folks get the same as well. And also our non-union employees will be able to get a step in the next year if they are moving on the salary schedule. If they're at the point that they aren't, they won't until the license bargaining union agreement is completed. So I just wanted to make note of that. And the recommendation is in the packet about moving forward with this for a 3-year.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm still finding the page with the motion, so
204.
we can right now ask kind of any questions before we have a motion, if anyone has any. 204, thank you. I don't see any questions for you. So then I am ready to hear a motion on the bottom of page 204.
I move,
I move that the Hillsboro School District Board of Directors approve the 2018 through 2021 individual contracts with executive management, administrators, confidential, and supervisory technical employees.
Second.
It's been moved by Martin and seconded by Jackie that we approve the 2018-2021 individual contracts with executive management, administrators, confidential, and supervisory technical employees. Is there any discussion or questions at this point? Okay, seeing none, Martin moved and Jackie seconded that we approve the 2018-2021 individual contracts with executive management, administrators, confidential, and supervisory technical employees. If you would like to do that, please say aye.
Aye.
If not, please say no. Okay, and that is approved. Thank you. We are at the superintendent's performance and approved performance evaluation.
This is where we'll fall behind on.
Yeah, it's going to take a while.
We have to read the whole thing.
So I do have to read the whole thing. Now, do I read it before or after the motion? Before the motion? It's going to be great.
Should have brought popcorn.
Do you,
I would,
Sorry.
we generally make the motion before we,
okay.
yeah, I would go ahead and do the motion.
Okay, so then I'm ready to-
Then do the vote after that.
Okay, I'm ready to hear a motion on the page 205.
I move that the Board of Directors commends the superintendent for his leadership of the Hillsboro School District and directs that the evaluation letter be placed in his personnel file.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by moved by Martin and seconded by Erica, excuse me. Moved by Martin and seconded by Erica that we commend the superintendent for his leadership of the Hillsboro School District and direct that the evaluation letter be placed in his personnel file. Is there any discussion?
My God is a rock star. Can we just say that?
That would save me a lot of pages. So we'll read the letter into the record and then we will vote. Please don't let me forget to do the voting after because that's something I would do. Okay, June 26th, 2018. Dear Superintendent Scott, the Hillsboro School District Board of Directors has completed your evaluation for 2017-18 according to policy CBG, Evaluation of the Superintendent. This year's standards-based model included a pre-evaluation survey completed by individual board members, your self-evaluation that examines your leadership and operational performance, and a thorough board discussion guided by an independent consultant. Thank you for your exceptional service to the HSD community in this, your 9th year as superintendent. You were evaluated on 8 standards for superintendent performance. 1, leadership and culture. 2, policy and governance. 3, communication and community relations. 4, organizational management. 5, facilities and technology management and planning. 6, instructional leadership. 7, human resources management. And 8, values and ethics of leadership. The board used a 4-point scoring system with exceeding, proficient, developing, and does not meet as descriptors. Superintendent Scott, the board of directors deeply appreciates your dedication to our school district and your commitment to improving it each year. The evaluation data speaks for itself. For the 2nd consecutive year, you have improved your performance in all 8 standards. This feat illustrates for the board your leadership, vision, and work ethic. Your performance in 5 of the standards was on the high end of proficient, and you received exceeding scores in 3 of the standards. The board has been proud to work with you during this outstanding year of success and looks forward to supporting your continued professional growth and your continued improvement of our district in the year ahead. The board has identified some accomplishments that exemplify your performance in each standard. We've seen the initiative to know every student by name, strength, and need expand to every part of our district, and we have observed its full implementation in all of the school buildings we visit. In a district as large as Hillsboro, we understand the significant work that is required to move an idea from the executive team to full implementation at the building level. You and your team have laid the groundwork for great success in this area, and it is a perfect indication of your outstanding performance for Standard 1, Leadership and Culture. A common thread in the feedback from board members for this standard is how effectively you lead by example in good times and trying ones. We see and value your endeavor to be a visible leader in our community locally and throughout the state. The board as a whole appreciates your responsiveness in resolving policy questions. You've been proactive and innovative in your support of the board's desire to increase the rate at which we are reviewing and updating policies this year. Support exhibits your proficiency in Standard 2, Policy and Governance. The board was immensely impressed with all the great work being done related to Standard 3, Communications and Community Relations. As a board, we have observed and value your impeccable communication and listening skills. You are a leader who understands the value of listening. We are thrilled to see so many coffee chats, student listening sessions, and similar events on your calendar. and your communication and leadership around our $408 million bond package was a key factor in this historic success. For evidence of your performance in Standard 4, Organizational Management, the board examined cabinet performance. We see your executive team as a tight-knit, passionate, and driven group who respond to your leadership by example and carry that influence with them as they work throughout our district. We are excited about the implementation of smarter school spending in our district. The smooth rollout of this program is indicative of how you effectively manage HSD. The board recognizes that the issues our district faces in terms of facilities and technology are primarily due to the funding shortfalls we have faced over the years. The guidance your team provided to the Bond Advisory Committee in building a bond package for our community was exceptional. The passing of the bond measure was a huge victory for our district, and the board recognizes all the planning that was required of you and your team. We are confident that you will effectively oversee the implementation of the bond, and we are eager to see these plans come to fruition. All of these accomplishments are important indicators of your performance for Standard 5, Facilities and Technology Management and Planning. The board identified several highlights this year in Standard 6, Instructional Leadership. We appreciate the work of the Citizens Curriculum Advisory Committee and the new course offerings they've analyzed. We are enthusiastic about the career and technical education work that is happening throughout our district, and we've been excited to see the growth of preschool offerings in HSD. We've also seen the benefits of trauma-informed practices for students, and we support your team in implementing these practices in HSD. Board members recognize the quality of HSD staff at all levels, from the administration center to facilities to transportation to individual school buildings. As we've interacted with staff at all of these locations throughout the year, these experiences have confirmed that we are proud to be HSD. We also value the support that you and your team offer the board during contract bargaining, and we are proud of the work you and your team have accomplished in growing our own bilingual teachers with the Western Oregon University Scholars Program. Furthermore, we see the value in offering plentiful professional development opportunities to staff, which you and your team do very well. These are all important indicators of your performance in Standard 7, Human Resources Management. The final standard is Standard 8, Values and Ethics of Leadership. This standard was rated consistently as exceeding. The board unanimously sees, admires, and values the way in which you lead with values and ethics. You are a leader who exemplifies integrity and service. We trust that you will continue to be unwavering in your advocacy of what is best for the students of HSD. We also appreciate the respectful way you communicate with members of our community, even in difficult conversations. We've seen you handle precarious discussions during coffee chats with tact and in a manner that respects the privacy of individuals when this is appropriate. Superintendent Scott, your performance in each of the above 8 standards has been outstanding this year. We are proud to serve our community as board members and grateful that you are such a visionary leader for the Hillsboro School District. As we look forward to the coming year, the board has identified some areas of focus. The board shares your vision for a more demographically representative teaching staff for our students. We support you in this area and the area of equity. We encourage you to take risks, think outside the box, and be at the forefront of this work in the state, knowing that we will stand with you. Next year, we will be entering a critical time for K-12 funding in Oregon. We fully appreciate the relationships you have built in Salem with state education leaders and legislators, and want to see you spend more time there advocating for our district. Finally, the all-staff kickoff in the past was an event to remember. Staff began the year inspired and energized. We support you in bringing this event back to share a common message and inspiration with all staff. There are innumerable things that are unique about you, Superintendent Scott, not the least of which is the significant length of your service to our district. 9 years as superintendent of one district is uncommon in Oregon, and when the board works with outside consultants, we consistently hear that you are one of the very best superintendents in the entire state. We are proud to have you lead our district and look forward to what we will accomplish together in the years to come. Sincerely, Lisa Allen, Board Chair, Kim Strelchin, Vice Chair, Martin Granum, Erica Lopez, Yadira Martinez, Jackie Sprouse, Mark Watson. Believe it or not, that is not the longest evaluation letter ever. There have been longer ones. Okay, so I see some people want to say some things and then we'll do our vote. Kim?
It's a good reminder, and I always forget it's been 9 years. And 3 years is sort of the average and norm. And I love that you are not afraid of a challenge and you're not looking for greener grass, that your heart and soul is here. And I think it makes your board want to stay here, and it makes your staff want to stay here. And so we could have written a 100-page letter. I just appreciate the dedication that you and your entire cabinet put into this work.
Anybody else? I'll just say whoever wrote that obviously thinks a lot of you. So, and pretty good writing too, but it is a little bit long-winded, so maybe next year it should be shorter. But I know we obviously, we didn't have enough good things to say about you, really, it was just a lot of recognizing how lucky we are to have you, and we really are very, very lucky, and we know it, so, thank you.
Very happy to be here. This is the greener grass. There's the way I look at it. So love being here, and this group over here is the group that makes it all happen. So thank you all very much as well. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I'm just waving to the others that helped me.
All right, so it was moved by Martin and seconded by Erica that we commend the superintendent for his leadership of the Hillsboro School District and direct that the evaluation letter be placed in his personnel file. If you would like to do that, please say aye. Aye. If not, please say no. Okay, that passes. Excellent. So we are at action item 12D, approve extension of the superintendent's contract. And I'm ready to hear a motion.
I move that the Hillsboro School District Board of Directors approves the 2018-19 individual contract with the superintendent with a one-year extension through June 11th, 2021.
June 30th.
June 30th, 2021, sorry. What did I say?
11. Oh, it's okay. I'll repeat it, don't worry.
Second.
I'm sorry.
Excellent. So it's been moved by Jackie and seconded by Kim that we approve the 2018-19 individual contract with the superintendent with a one-year extension through June 30th, 2021. Is there any discussion or questions? Okay, Jackie moved and Kim seconded to approve the 2018-19 individual contract with the superintendent with a one-year extension through June 30th, 2021. If you would like to do that, please say aye. Aye. If not, please say no. Okay, that is approved. Thank you. We are at 12E, approve recommendations regarding student representatives to the Board of Directors. Kim, do you want to share anything you did not share upstairs?
No, I think I shared upstairs. One question I have is, do we need to name the students here?
At this point, I think that would be a good idea.
Okay.
Do you still have their names or do you need to?
Yes, of course I do. It's over here on the greener side.
Okay.
I think a win.
I move that the Board of Directors approve our recommendation of Samantha Vega Contreras and Jessica Jose Nickerson to be student representatives in the next school year.
Second. I'm going to go with Yadira because she's closer. Okay, so it's been moved by Kim and seconded by Yadira that we approve the interview team's recommendations regarding candidates to be appointed in September 2018. Is there any discussion or questions? Yes.
Just a reminder to everyone, I was set it upstairs, but just for anyone who wasn't there, how pleased we were with all the candidates that we met, that they were all qualified, and I'm hoping that they can find other ways to be engaged in district level committee opportunities.
Absolutely. I would just say that I really appreciate the subcommittee that took the time to meet with the students. I've served on committees like that before. It's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of extra time. So, and a hard decision. So we appreciate you doing that very much. Thank you, guys. Okay. All right. So it has been moved by Kim and seconded by Yadira that we approve the interview team's recommendations of appointing Samantha Vega Contreras and Jessica Jose Nickerson to be appointed as student representatives to the Board of Directors. If you would like to approve those recommendations, please say aye. Aye. If not, please say no. Okay, that is approved. Excellent. We are at item F with Michelle, approved nonprofit low-income housing property tax exemption request.
So in February of 2012, the district had approved kind of a test of this low-income tax exemption on behalf of the county. And during that interim period, from 2012 till the time where the program was to be evaluated by us based on what we saw as the impact, what was the potential loss of that. We didn't experience any because there hadn't been any exemption requests come through during that window. The county has come back and said, oh, it expired. Would you consider resupporting this? And so that's what this recommendation is to do. It has the exemption extends until the statutory sunset date of the program, so it doesn't end in 2 or 3 years like it did the first time. So that's a change. There's a little bit of a narrative on what Beaverton School District experienced in their, when they supported the program for their district as well. They gained an ADM for the age students because of the low income housing that was available. So it actually had a net positive impact to them. I don't have the specific numbers to share with you tonight, but I can provide them if you need some follow-up.
I'm looking for a motion that you can find on the bottom of page 211.
I move that the Board of Directors adopts the following resolution. The Hillsboro School District 1J Board of Directors hereby approves the use of exemptions from district assessed property taxes on the value of certain properties that qualify for property administered by Washington County, as provided in the nonprofit corporation low-income housing program authorized under ORS 307.540 through 307.548. Board approval of this exemption extends until the statutory sunset date of the program.
Second.
It's been moved by Erica and seconded by Martin that we adopt this resolution. Is there any discussion or questions? Martin?
Michelle, what is the sunset date of the program? Is that,
I don't think it has one at this point.
okay,
Right now, it's just kind of rolling on, and so the ORS, if there's legislation that comes forward to sunset the program,
okay.
then
So this would be the last time we'd see this then? It won't expire?
No,
Okay. Thank you.
not based on current rules.
Any other questions or comments? It has been moved by Erica and seconded by Martin that we adopt the following resolution. The Hillsboro School District 1J Board of Directors hereby approves the use of exemptions from district assessed property taxes on the value of certain properties that qualify for property administered by Washington County as provided in the nonprofit corporation low income housing program authorized under ORS 307.540 through 307.548. Board approval of this exemption extends until the statutory sunset date of the program. If you would like to adopt that resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
If not, please say no. Thank you, Michelle. 12G, declare surplus property, Adam and Casey.
So as part of the bond, we are replacing playgrounds at 4 elementary schools this summer. And for board policy, we need to declare the old playground equipment surplus. We also are replacing portable classrooms at several sites. You approve the demolition or the declaring of all of those with the exception of the Farmington View portable surplus at an earlier meeting. For whatever reason, Farmington View didn't make it on that list at that time. So this is a request to declare the playgrounds at Farmington View, Butternut Creek, West Union, and Daniel Henry surplus, and for the portable classroom at Farmington View.
Thank you. I'm looking for a motion, which you can find on page 212.
I move that the Board of Directors declares the obsolete playground equipment at Butternut Creek, Farmington View, West Union, and W.L. Henry Elementary Schools, and the portable classroom building at Farmington View Elementary School as surplus and authorize their demolition as part of the 2017 bond program.
Second. It's been moved by Yadira and seconded by Jackie that we declare this equipment surplus. Is there any discussion or questions? I don't see any. So it's been moved by Yadira and seconded by Jackie that we declare the obsolete playground equipment at Butternut Creek, Farmington View, West Union, and W.L. Henry Elementary Schools and the portable classroom building at Farmington View Elementary School as surplus and authorize their demolition as part of the 2017 bond program. If you would like to do that, please say aye.
Aye.
If not, please say no. Okay. That passes. We're allowed to do that with Kim in the restroom, right? We just don't count her.
That's right.
Okay, all right. All right, moving right along. H, authorize granting of easement to the city of Hillsboro with Michelle.
Thank you. We have been contacted by a right-of-way agent on behalf of the city of Hillsboro to, as part of their improvements here in this area, put in a turning lane from Brookwood onto Northeast 49th, just right out here in front, to gain better access for not only our building, but also the new credit union headquarters. It's estimated to house 2,000 employees there, so it's going to be a very busy spot. We have confirmed with our realtor that the offer they made of $26,200 to be a fair market value, and that we will not lose any parking. And there's diagrams in the packet. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm looking for a motion, which you can find on page 213.
I move that the Board of Directors authorize the administration to execute the necessary documents to grant an easement to the city of Hillsboro for a traffic turn lane from Brookwood Parkway onto Northeast 49th Place, Hillsboro, for the consideration of $26,200.
Second. It's been moved by Mark and seconded by Jackie that we authorize the administration to execute these documents. Is there any discussion or are there any questions?
I was just gonna ask, is it okay that I vote on these little things?
Yes.
These are fine, right?
She works for the city, but she doesn't have any personal.
There's no personal gain for you.
Perfect.
And the last time we checked, they said public employees was different than private employees when you work for an organization.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for checking. Okay, so it has been moved by Mark and seconded by Jackie that we authorize the administration to execute the necessary documents to grant an easement to the city of Hillsboro for a traffic turn lane from Brookwood Parkway onto Northeast 49th Place, Hillsboro, for the consideration of $26,200. If you would like to so authorize the administration, please say aye.
Aye.
If not, please say no. Okay, thank you. All right, 12I, approve contractor pre-qualification with Don.
So as part of our just normal ongoing work with tech services and as the increased volume of work that involves low voltage, we've gone back out for an RFI. The last time we did this was about 5 years ago. So this time we sought an RFI. We've received 7 responses to that, and after going through the packet, we moved all 7 before they all made the score and move forward. So your approval to get them on the short list of people who we can present work to as we go through the bond and through our normal daily activities here in the district.
Thank you, Don. I'm ready to hear a motion. You can find some language on page 219.
I move that we review and we approve the list of pre-qualified low voltage electrical contractors.
Second.
It's been moved by Jackie and seconded by Erica that we approve this contractor pre-qualification. Is there any discussion or any questions for Don? Okay, I don't see any, so it's been moved by Jackie and seconded by Erica that we approve the list of pre-qualified low voltage electrical contractors. If you would like to approve that list, please say aye.
Aye.
If not, please say no. Okay, thank you, Don.
Thank you.
That motion carries. We are at 12J, adjust appropriations with Michelle.
Thanks again. Per local budget law, we are required to submit appropriation adjustments to the board whenever we want to move between funds and the major function area of spending. And so last month I brought to you non-general fund appropriation changes as a long list, and as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year, I have some general fund adjustments made as well. One is to make an adjustment from support services to community services. That's function 2,000 to function 3,000 of $34,626. And another one to adjust the debt service from the general fund operating budget to Fund 170, the construction excise tax. Happy to answer any questions. Special thanks to Val for helping me reformat. Hopefully this is a little easier to read, a little bit more clear. Thank you, Val.
Okay, so I am looking for a motion, which you can find on the bottom of page 220.
I move that the Board of Directors approve the adjusted appropriations for general and special revenue funds listed in the June 26, 2018 board meeting packet.
Second.
It's been moved by Martin and seconded by Mark that we approve these adjusted appropriations. Are there any questions for Michelle or any discussion? Okay, so it's been moved by Martin and seconded by Mark that we approve the adjusted appropriations for general and special revenue funds listed in the June 26, 2018 board meeting packet. If you would like to approve those appropriations, please say aye.
Aye.
If not, please say no. Okay, those are approved. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay, 12K, approve revisions to policy AC with Kana.
So, I have not received any questions in regards to this, and I would like to say that if we can move forward with approving this policy revision, that would be great.
Excellent, thank you. So I'm ready to hear a motion, which you can find on page 221.
I move that the Board of Directors approves a revision to policy AC non-discrimination.
Second.
It's been moved by Erica and seconded by Yadira that we approve the revisions to policy AC non-discrimination. Are there any questions or comments or discussion? Okay, it's been moved by Erica and seconded by Yadira that we approve the revisions to policy AC non-discrimination. If you would like to approve those revisions, please say aye. Aye. If not, please say no. All right, that motion carries. Thank you. Okay, 12L with Travis, policy revisions, JBB educational equity.
Thank you. So per a conversation with the board and also consistent, I think, with the values of the board and our staff as we developed this policy, we wanted the strongest language possible, like will and shall. And then we sought consult from OSBA and a legal team that suggested that in the first section of bullets, we use commit to rather than shall, because we would open ourselves up to litigation if we didn't meet some of our goals in that first section, like eliminating achievement gaps or opportunity gaps for our students. So in the first section on the first page, you'll see it. The intro line is to achieve educational equity, the district will commit to. And then in the second section, we say that equity for each and every student, the Hillsboro School District shall. The Hillsboro School District shall. And that parallel language for all of those bullets that we believe that we have more control over and that we shall execute those actions on behalf of students. I think you received a board update regarding that change, and I haven't heard any questions since then, so happy to answer any today.
Excellent. I'm ready to hear a motion, which you can find on page 224.
I move that the Board of Directors approves the revisions to policy JBB educational equity.
Second.
It's been moved by Jackie and seconded by two people, but I heard Kim, so I wrote Kim, to approve the revisions to policy JBB educational equity. Are there any questions or discussion? I just want to say I'm really excited that we're finally here. So this is great. Erica?
I was just wondering if other neighboring districts have something like this. Is this?
Yeah, I'm happy to share. We have a packet. When we started to construct our own, we used OSBA's draft, and then we created a packet of regional, even in, we have some from the Seattle area in Washington, so I'd be happy to provide the board with similar documentation from other districts who've created a policy like this.
I would love to see Seattle.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I would like to see Seattle, just if you can put it in our updates to see what we grabbed, that would be good.
Sure, happy to do that. Thanks for your support on this.
Thank you, Travis. We know there was a lot of work over a long time, so we really appreciate this. It has been moved by Jackie and seconded by Kim that we approve the revisions to policy JBB, educational equity. If you would like to approve that policy, please say aye.
Aye.
If not, please say no. Okay, that passes, thank you. 12M, approve the 2018-19 board meeting dates. Mike.
So you'll see a list of dates there, a couple that don't follow the normal rhythm. One is on October 2nd. We've scheduled a meeting, a joint meeting with the city of Hillsboro, where we can talk about our joint interests and our current partnerships that are working well as future opportunities. We're also in the process of inviting city councilors and leadership from North Plains, as well as Cornelius, to invite those folks into a work session for us as well. Those dates haven't been scheduled yet. Then the June meeting, just due to a conflict, needed to move that up, and hoping you'll approve these so we can get them on the calendar.
Okay, so I am ready to hear a motion, which you can find on page 229.
I move that the Board of Directors approve the board meeting dates for the 2018-19 school year.
Second.
It's been moved by Yadira and seconded by Kim that we approve these board meeting dates. Are there any questions or discussion about these dates? Val, I have a question. You recently sent out hold the dates. Are those for these new updated?
Those are for those updated
Okay.
dates.
Excellent, perfect. Okay, so it has been moved by Yadira and seconded by Kim that we approve the board meeting dates for the 2018-19 school year. If you would like to approve those dates, please say aye.
Aye.
If not, please say no. Okay, they are approved, thank you. All right, our final action item of the evening is to elect a board chair and vice chair. So we will do board chair and then we will do board vice chair. So I am ready to hear nominations for board chair.
I nominate Lisa Allen to be our board chair.
A second. Oh, wait.
It's much appreciated. That was good. But it's nice, it's nice.
Anybody want to give her a heart attack?
Are there any other nominations for chair? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to declare nominations closed. Okay, so we have one nominee for board chair, Lisa Allen. If you would like to elect Lisa Allen as board chair, please say aye. Aye. If not, please say no. Okay, thanks. All right, that was the easy one. Okay, I am now ready to declare nominations open for vice chair.
I nominate Erica Lopez for vice chair.
Thank you, Martin.
I nominate Jackie Spross for vice chair.
Thank you, Kim. Are there any further nominations for vice chair? Okay, then I will. Okay, I need to say, so okay, Martin has nominated Erica Lopez for vice chair and Kim has nominated Jackie Spross for vice chair. I hear no other nominations, so I'm going to declare the nominations closed. Okay, and we will vote in order. So Erica Lopez was nominated first. If you would like to elect Erica Lopez as vice chair, do you want to do hands, Val?
Yeah, and then you'll have to give me a minute because I gotta get names. So.
Okay, so raise your hand if you'd like to elect Erica Lopez as vice chair. And then let Val nominate.
Okay.
Thank you. And Jackie Spross was nominated for vice chair by Kim. If you would like to elect Jackie Spross as vice chair, please raise your hand and keep it raised so that Val may count you. I couldn't see Martin. I assume you voted for who you nominated, but I don't know for sure. Okay, so then I believe that Erica Lopez has been elected as vice chair, okay? So congratulations, Erica Lopez, as our new vice chair.
I'm vice chair.
And also, thank you very much to our outgoing vice chair, Kim Strelchik, but we'll probably say a lot of next because she thinks about her for discussion time, so we'll save that for a minute. Okay. All right. So we don't need to like switch seats because we just have the end of the meeting. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's invite HE and HCU up to join us. Welcome.
Hi, Devin Hunter from HCU. I just want to sort of, as we get into summer, this is actually the busy season for some of our staff, if you don't know about it. Like custodians, they are cleaning our buildings top to bottom. Technology, all that wonderful bond technology you bought, we actually have to go out and put it out in the buildings. HR, that they have all the people who have resigned, retired, we got to replace those people. So they are processing all these new people and organizing all that stuff. The business office is wrapping up the fiscal year. Payroll just ran 3 checks in a row, and finishing off the fiscal year. And our warehouse staff I feel really bad for because they get to receive all the new technology. So if you've been over to the warehouse, it's completely full. So yeah, we're trying to get that stuff out as quickly as possible. So the advantage of summer is that I spend my time doing a lot of really boring, repetitive tasks. And I don't know if any of you have ever unpacked a computer before. It's super exciting the first time you do it. Around the 100th or 200th time, you're like, man, this is really boring. So I really get to think about how our last year has gone. I find myself reflecting on the year, and I think we have a really great crew. We have great leadership in this district, and it really shows because we have a culture of collaboration. We have a culture of making sure that we're reaching out to help people out. That, in my role as union president, as a representative of our classified employees, we've had staff who have faced some really difficult decisions about their future with HSD and what they need to do. And it's really nice to know that I have a partner on the HR team who will help that person navigate those decisions. And sometimes that results in them staying with the district, sometimes it results with them moving on. And each time that decision has to be made, we treat it with the care and the weight that it does. We don't make flippant decisions. And we make sure that people know everything that they need to know in order to make an informed decision, which I find really great. I'm really looking forward to the work that we have for next year because we still have that comprehensive job description review, which is going to hopefully make our principals really happy when they only have like 2 or 3 options for their front office staff and they don't have to try to slice and dice 7 positions to make someone full-time. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what bargaining results in because I think we do have, we thought we had a great contract 3 years ago. And then we started using it and went, we have some problems and this and that are just not quite right. So we're hoping to fix those and make our contract even better. Because I'd love to get to a year of contract negotiation where we go, well, we fixed all the problems, let's just start talking about money. But we're not there yet, we still have some stuff to fix, but I hope to be there. So, have a great summer, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Devin, for everything you do. I really appreciate it. Jill Golay, Hillsboro Education Association President, and we have a great collaborative team here. And I was just thinking about that when all the evaluation of Mike and the positive notes. And I looked around the room and thought, I have made contact with everybody here in the last month, working in my role as the president of the association. And I think that says a lot about the district because, that's comforting. I can pick up the phone and brainstorm and have a thought partner on the other end. And I look at the school board and I think, I see these guys everywhere. And it's wonderful. You're in the community, you know the heartbeat. You know the heartbeat of the district. You also know the heartbeat of the community, and it's evident. Mark, I saw you walking down the street yesterday by Katama. You probably didn't know that. But thank you for everything you do. And I when I heard $70 million, I'm thinking that is just such a huge number. It just takes me back to think, and we're still operating and we're still doing an amazing job. And of course, there are things that we need to look at and that we need to, always be evaluating. But, it's comforting to know that I have the relationship with everybody here where I can, I can have a discussion and that members can too. And that's really important. And I think that will continue to keep us on the right path and we'll continue to head in the right direction. So thank you everybody for everything you do. And I know I'm looking forward to my summer and starting next week. And but I will see you in August because I really do like to take part in listening to your retreats. So thank you, and have a great summer.
Superintendent's time.
Just a couple quick things. First of all, thanks for your participation in the graduation ceremonies. It's so, it's just such a celebration of 13 years of hard work for the students, and to see the board members there just having a great time with it. And for the first time ever, I think we had an Aerosmith song sung at graduation, so that was great as well. So thank you for your participation in that. Second, I would just say thank you for the nice words on the evaluation. Lisa, I know it takes a long time to put that together, so I appreciate everything you did to make that happen. And it really is just a reflection of everyone in this room and our entire team that make all the great things happen. So thanks to you guys as well. Much appreciated. I'd also like to say, we've had such a positive year with so many really big events happening for us. The passage of the bond, the grant rates going up, an incredibly collaborative board, and that's in the community all the time. It's such a positive year. And I love that we capped it off with the last two policies that we just talked about, the non-discrimination policy and the changes we made to be inclusive of our community and to reflect our students and their needs. Love that we did that with the non-discrimination policy, and the fact that we passed an equity policy to honor the diversity that we have within our community, not only the community, but of course our students as well. And while we have always been focused on eliminating the predictable nature of the student outcomes that can be expected throughout the nation, the fact that we're now at a point where we can put this policy in writing and do that in a very proud way just indicates to me that we're focused on creating a safe and welcoming environment for all of our students. So I can't think of a better way to reflect our values as a staff and board team to wrap up the year that way. So thank you very much. It's much appreciated.
We'll start at the end and then we'll go this way. Becky?
I'm really excited for all the lawn work that we're doing over the summer. I love driving by the schools and seeing just a buzz of activity. Graduations were amazing. Previous board members said, it's the best time, this is why we do it, and they were so right. They were all amazing, every single one. So yeah, that was great. Highlight of my year, definitely.
Well, as 5 of us moved from being freshmen to being sophomores, yeah, it's been a great year for me personally. It's been humbling to serve the community in this way. Everybody I've interfaced with has been awesome. There is truly a depth of support for K-12 in our community, and that manifested in the bond, but it manifests in a lot of other ways. Sometimes in our consent agenda, we overlook the generosity of the community. There's tens of thousands of dollars, almost every board meeting that's donated to the district in amazing and transformational ways. And the labor that's volunteers that come into our schools and the great relationships they have with our staff in the schools as they come in and volunteers, it's truly amazing. And so to be a part of that has just been great. I've really enjoyed my role as one of 7. It's been very satisfying. And I feel good about the work that we've done collectively, to move some issues forward. I do want to comment a little bit about the elephant in the room. It seems odd for this collaborative board to want to grind to a halt on a 4-3 vote. That's a very awkward place to be. But I want to say that I feel like any of my colleagues would do a fantastic job as board chair or board vice chair, and I commend everybody whoever throws their name in a hat for an elected position. In any capacity, always have my tremendous respect. And I love and appreciate all of my colleagues on this board. So thank you very much. It's been a great year. Here's to another great year.
Yeah, I would say, just like Martin said, I think that any one of us can serve in these positions, and I appreciate that all of you believe that either I or Jackie can do the job. I also wanted to say that I do some presentations. Sometimes I get invited to do panels or just because of the nature of the position that I hold and the fact that there's very limited people of color in positions of leadership that are elected in our state and also just in our nation. But when I do that, I see the need for that representation, and I can see it happening the moment that I'm doing it, and then afterwards people come up to me and say, like, I didn't even know that I could do that, and I'm so appreciative that you came to talk to our group and presented and said that. And so I just want to tell you all that not only do you elevate our district, but you also elevate communities of color when they're able to see this leadership and the makeup of our board. So thank you.
Just like everybody else, graduation was amazing. And some of us were fortunate enough to spend time chatting with the governor, and I don't know if I don't know how we ended up with that honor, but if you ever get a chance to, I highly suggest you do it. She's authentic and warm and intelligent and basically everything you want in an elected official, so she's awesome. So it was great to get to do that. As Martin said, it's the end of our first year, and I couldn't be more honored to serve with this group. It's, I think when I don't know about you guys, maybe I'll do a bunch more research than I did, but I think when we threw our hat in the ring to try to get this job, we knew we wanted to make a difference, knew we wanted to find a way to help, but I don't know if I personally knew exactly what the job was. And after a year, I'm still learning, but I got a lot more to learn, but it's a tremendous job and an honor to do it. And one last note, so the previous board chair, who had an exemplary run, resigned his position to maybe become a teacher here. Does anybody know if that happened? Can we say if that happened?
Yes, you got a job at Hill High.
Hill High.
Hey.
Goes outstanding. All right. Thank you.
Would have been awkward if we would have had the same.
Just to continue on with what everyone else is saying, graduation was a lot of fun. I look forward to it next year as well. Kim, thank you for your service as vice chair. From the very beginning, I've learned so much from you. So, you seem to know the ropes, and it's been very helpful for me. And I will continue to learn from you, though.
If you would share my thanks with the nurses who presented, and I'm assuming you because they kind of seem like they huddled around you, Jill. I just appreciate that they came to share and gave us input. We don't always get to hear directly from staff, and that is a set of staff who are really behind the scenes, so that when we are visiting schools, it's not someone we would often meet face to face. Thank you to facilities. Graduations are, that whole part is awesome, and kids and hugs and speeches and music and all that, but how seamless they have made that process for all the attendees in such a short time in a brand new venue in a whole new way. Just, they're rock stars. I appreciate all of the hours. I can't imagine how much time they put in behind the scenes before we all get there to make it feel seamless, and it's really appreciated. Also excited about all the bond work. Thank you to all those who will be working extra hours over the summer. I'm really glad that that's a problem you have. I am beyond thrilled that you were bored turning on your computers, because it's very exciting. As someone who's been here a long time, I can tell you that I've waited 7 years for an equity policy, and I have hung my head low in a lot of my other work where I interact with other school districts, because people were always shocked that Hillsboro did not have one. And they knew that didn't resonate with who I was as a human being or who they thought I was as a board member. And so I want to thank previous boards who helped lay groundwork, specifically Audrana Kanyas and Janine Solomon, who did not get to see the fruition of their hard work on this policy, and to all the staff who worked behind the scenes for so long to make this a reality. It's just an awesome way to end the year, and it's hard to believe that this was something I asked as a new board member 7 years ago. So kudos to all of you for all your hard work in making it happen.
I echo Kim's comments about the nurses who came. If you could share our thanks with them, please. You said the $70 million thing too. It's something that we value and we care about very much, just like many other things like class size, that we have such a limited bucket of money, and we wish that we could give our kids the world that they deserve to learn in. And we're doing the best that we think that we can do but we definitely do appreciate them and we hear them. And I'm really excited about the potential of the internal Medicaid billing and what impact that might have. It's a small piece, so I hope that comes to fruition. I also wanted to point out on our action items this evening, we did approve the low-income housing property tax exemption for Washington County. As a school board, we have a very limited or nil impact on affordable housing in our area, but it is a really critical issue that affects a lot of our students every day. In our county, there are countless homeless students, depending on whose statistics you're looking at and how you count them. And so I'm really excited that we were able to approve the small thing that we have a say on to help make some housing. 60% of the median income is still a significant amount of money. It's a pretty big income in Washington County. The median income is pretty high for a family, but most affordable housing units, my understanding is, require 8% of the median income. So saying that they can be at 60 makes it a little bit more feasible, I think, for families to afford. So I'm hopeful that we'll see more options for families, hopefully thanks in part to our approval of that exemption. Two other things. We are going to have a new vice chair at our next meeting on August 6th, which means that Kim is no longer going to be our vice chair as of right now. And so that's just, it's sad and momentous. Kim has served for, she already said, like 7 years. She is the most veteran school board member that we have and is very dedicated and not only has a full-time job and chaired the bond campaign and was the vice chair, which really was basically being a second chair because I didn't know what I was doing this year. I mean, the amount of hours that she has given to our community is insane. And I really appreciate you so much. And I know that you'll still be there when I don't know what to do, so that's great.
I'll still be a learner.
So that's excellent. And then the last thing, just graduations, yes, I'll echo what everyone else said, were amazing. We did get to hang out with the governor. Unfortunately, Mark telling you that you should all talk to her if you get an opportunity, you won't, because she's never going to come back to Hillsboro, thanks to all the pictures that everyone made her take with me. So she will never be coming back to this region of the state. I'm very sorry. And then I thought I'd just share a cute little story. I was telling my children about the ceremonies and kind of what the garb is that the kids get to wear, I guess the young adults, and I showed them pictures of kids that we know. My son's piano teacher graduated from Glencoe this year, and he's got his chords. They wanted to know what those were, and I told them all the different things, what they were. And my daughter, Lily, who's an incoming kindergartner in September, has decided that she's going to be having a chord at graduation for recess. So I hope you guys are prepared to figure out the qualifications for such a chord, because she's decided that's going to be a thing.
Yes.
So just FYI.
I like that.
And that's all that I have for this evening. So our next meeting is August 6th, which is our full-day work session retreat, and that is actually not at this building. It's at the River House. I think that's what it's called. Whatever, the Root Bridge Apartment. Is it not called that?
It is.
It is called, okay, it sounds like it's not, but I guess it is. Okay. All right, so we will adjourn our meeting.
At 9:02.
Good night.